So anyone that may be joining us via the live stream, welcome there. We're going to be doing the chat information just on Zoom. So if you want to reply to any of the chat comments or talk to us, recommend that you go to the Zoom link. Otherwise, you can stay on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever you're coming to us from. And people that are on Zoom, if you can put in the chat area where you're coming from, that would be great. Just we kind of know who's here. We actually know who's here. We just don't know where you're from. I'm actually broadcasting today from Brooklyn, New York. Even though people that know me know that I live in Colorado. But I am here on a combination personal and business trip. So excited to be in New York City.
Well, it's exciting to be in New York, right? It's the city that never sleeps, the hopes and dreams and all that fun stuff. What a great place to be.
They say it's a city that never sleeps, but it was actually kind of funny. My nephew was here visiting a couple days ago. So granted, it was midweek, but we decided we would go to a comedy club and then go to a bar afterwards. And all the bars closed at like 11 o'clock. It was like,
yeah,
this is a city that never sleeps.
Post-pandemic, right? Everything has, it's changed the hours for a lot of things. Grocery stores close much earlier than they ever did, and restaurants are all closing much earlier than they ever did before. So, yeah, it's the city that never slept before pandemic.
Exactly.
It just doesn't roll off the tongue as easily.
Yeah. All right. I think that it is the top of the hour. I'm sure we're going to have other people joining us as we go through this, but I don't want to waste anybody's time. I want to make sure that while we've got your attention, that we give you the full impact that we have for you here this afternoon. So I'll just start saying my name's Greg Jameson. I'm going to be co-hosting this webinar today with my friend Angel Tussey. This is all about top e-commerce challenges in 2022. And this is part of a series of webinars that I've been doing with different people, and we pick different topics each time. So today we're going to be talking about traffic and media exposure. And let me get to my screen here. So as we get started here, I've got a 1-question survey, and you can just put your answer in the chat. And that is, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to your business online? And it can be one of the things that I've got up here, the technology, the version, the traffic, time, whatever else it might be. Just let us know what your biggest challenge is. And as you're doing that, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. As I said, my name is Greg Jameson. I have been basically doing some form of technology since I was a teenager, which is not that big a deal if I was a millennial, but as you can see, I'm not. I've been doing this for my entire career. I've basically been building software applications since 1985 and internet applications since 1995. So I have been in the web space pretty much since the beginning of the internet. Over that time, I've created hundreds and hundreds of websites. And as I've worked with different people, I've learned a lot of things that have worked for them and that haven't worked for them. And that's why I'm able to share some of this information with you. You can see some of the awards and stuff that I've gotten
Great.
up there as well.
Greg,
Uh-huh.
would you like to record this?
I would. And I forgot to resume the recording, so let's proceed. All right. Check the chat here real quick too. Okay. So that's a little bit about me, and get back to my other screen here. As I said before, my co-host today is my lovely friend, Angel Tussey. And as you can see here, Angel and I actually hang out together. This isn't just some random person that I reached out to. I don't even remember how long we've known each other, but I do remember how we met. Angel actually called me up because I had just released a book and she was just starting a radio show, and she was like, "Would you like to be on the show?" And I was like, "Sure." So we've done a number of things over the years, and I'm excited that she is here with us today. You want to tell people right now, Angel, a little bit more about yourself?
I
Or
would,
you want to wait till the start of your presentation?
right? I would love to. Like Greg said, the way we met is I called him up to be a guest on my show. I used to host a daily talk show out of Denver, Colorado. So that's where we met. I have since relocated just a couple of years ago. My family and I relocated to Orlando, Florida. So we left the winters of Colorado and exchanged it for the humidity of Florida. And my hair still hasn't recovered, right? The frizziness. I haven't quite yet figured out how to navigate the Florida humidity for my hair. That picture was actually taken in Denver, and see, no humidity, no frizzy when I'm in Denver. And you know, for the gentleman on the call, I don't know if this is an issue for you, but it definitely is for the ladies. But I have a background in broadcasting and media. They call me the media matchmaker, because I'm really, I've grown an incredible network of podcasters, radio show hosts, journalists who are often looking for quality guests to have on their show. And I get to match them up with authors, entrepreneurs, coaches, and speakers who are looking for more exposure. And so I teach authors, entrepreneurs, and speakers how to leverage the power of media exposure using traditional media in order to get discovered and attract more leads and build your business, what I call one to many.
Yeah, and that's going to be really important as we go through here today. So I'm going to kind of jump right into the content at this point, and just share this graph with you about the coronavirus impact on e-commerce. We were talking a little bit here right before we got this started about things pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and its effect on things. And one of the things that happened is back at the beginning of the pandemic, the coronavirus basically made it so that everybody jumped on board with e-commerce, and e-commerce jumped forward about 10 years faster than what people had previously expected over a period of about 3 months. So the fact is that this is an incredible time to have an e-commerce business. But at the same time, even though we have this great opportunity and people are buying things online faster than they ever were before, there's also a number of challenges that affect us. And those are some of the things we're going to talk about today. One of the things that I think is interesting is that if you look back into ancient times, alchemists were always trying to figure out how to turn lead into gold. And they never succeeded at doing that. But modern scientists actually have figured out how to do that. You can take a lead atom and turn it into a gold atom. The problem is that it costs more money to run this equipment than it does for the value of the gold produced. And in some ways, that's a lot like trying to make money online. It can be done, but it sometimes costs more than what it is that you make in exchange. So some of the challenges that happen here as a result of trying to run an e-commerce business is driving qualified traffic to your site. We talked a little, had some people answer that in the question that I posed earlier. Running effective marketing campaigns, converting visitors into customers, and getting media exposure. So the first thing that I want to talk about is getting qualified traffic to your website. And when I'm talking about qualified traffic, I'm not talking about just any traffic to your website. Yeah, it's nice to say that you've got, you know, thousands of visitors to your website, but what you really want is traffic where those visitors are going to be people that actually convert and make purchasing decisions on your site. Now, this is a chart of the way that so many people talk about driving traffic to your website, where they talk about inbound marketing versus outbound marketing, and as if inbound marketing is good and outbound marketing is bad. You know, with inbound marketing, we have organic and permission-based marketing and this pull effect and soft sell, whereas outbound marketing is paid advertising and interruptions and traditional media and hard sell and all this stuff. And like I said, they're pitting these two things against each other. The problem is marketing doesn't work that way. What's equally important to those is earned media. And you really need to have all three of these things, paid media, owned media, and earned media, working in conjunction with each other to really have an effective marketing strategy. So I'm going to talk here a little bit about owned media and paid media. And obviously, Angel's going to be talking about some earned media. So owned media is basically any content that you create. This obviously includes your blog and your website, your social media posts, your emails, videos, apps, ebooks, infographics, you know, whatever media that you create is media that you own. Now, some people will talk about social media and say, well, you don't own social media, that's a rented platform. And that's true, you don't. But the content that you create for that, you do own. So social media posts, those posts are still something where you own that media. Now, another quick quiz here. Take a look at this product. This is number one, and tell me if you think it is going to sell more than this product, product number two. And I'll just zoom up on product number two so you can actually see some things about it here. So product one or product two, and you can go ahead and put your answer in the chat as to which one you think is going to sell more. Now, the reality is that when it comes to product descriptions, more is always better. So number two is going to vastly outsell number one. In fact, if I back up here, you can see that it in fact has. It's got 76,000 reviews at 4.5 stars versus this one, which had a total of 2 reviews at 3 stars. And there's a number of reasons why number two is better. It's got more content. It's got a video about this. It's obviously got more reviews, but the content is significantly more. It gives people enough information that they can make a buying decision. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize, is that 67% of consumers who have visited an online store with the intent of actually buying something leave because they didn't get enough information. So you want to make sure that with all of your content, that you're actually providing enough information that people will purchase your product. Now, a couple of months ago, I was at Disneyland and we decided we were going to go there and take a look at the new Star Wars ride. It's called Rise of the Resistance. And we got there early. We were the first ones in line. And I looked behind me after we'd been standing there for a little bit. And this is what I saw. Disney obviously drives a lot of traffic to their parks. So how do they do this? Well, the answer lies in the experience that they create. When you go into this new Star Wars land, everything obviously looks like Star Wars. You feel immersed in it and you get the experience that you came there for. But it's not just the fact that you're going to see the Millennium Falcon there. Like I said, every single thing in the park is that way. Even the refreshment stands look like they belong to that park. It's all part of the experience. So the user experience on your website is equally as important. A couple of weeks ago, I was actually down in Colombia, South America, and I wanted to go to visit this rock down there. It's called El Pinol de Guatapé, and climb these stairs. Now, as it turns out, the most challenging part about climbing the rock at Guatapé is not climbing the stairs. It is trying to figure out how to book a tour so that you can go there in the first place. I went on the website that was recommended to me, and they said that in order to make a reservation, you need to contact these people via WhatsApp. So I did that, and it actually took a total of 56 messages in order for me to book the tour there. It would have been so much easier if they had just given me the information and then had a form where I could check out. This was definitely a case of how not to do e-commerce. And I've got to get back to my other screen again. So showing up on the first page of Google is one of the things that you want to do in terms of driving traffic to your website. You can see from this quote here that 75% of people are never going to scroll past the first page, which is why you have to rank on the first page. And most people know that. This is a hypothetical customer, but the concept is the same, where this person wanted to rank on the first page of Google for swingline staplers. I'm going to say that's not the actual product, but let's just say they wanted to rank for swingline staplers. And she called me up and said, how can I get my website to rank higher than Swingline does for their own products? And I was like, well, you can't. And quite honestly, you can't. If somebody types in Swingline staplers, then the Swingline site is the one that is most likely going to appear first. And then I showed her exactly what the reasoning for this was. And I pulled up her website and said, look, you've got a total of 414 backlinks to your website from 97 domains, meaning that basically 414 people have voted for your website for something to appear in the search engines. Just as a comparison, here's my website. I've got 158,000 backlinks to my website. Now, you can't compare your website to mine because you're trying to rank for beating out Swingline staplers. But if we do the same type of analysis on Swingline, they've got 32,784 backlinks, people pointing to their website about Swingline staplers. You had 400 and something. You're not going to beat Swingline to get ranked higher than them. So what you can do is you can take and search for a specific product that Swingline has and get that one product to rank higher than any of the other people that might be selling Swingline staplers. So let's say that they had Swingline stapler model XYZ. If somebody was searching for that, you might be able to beat out other people that are selling that same model as Swingline stapler. But in order to do this, you're going to have to create good content, long form content, as we saw. You're going to have to provide a great user experience, and then you're going to have to get people to backlink to it. That's still critical. Obviously, you have to be consistent as well with your postings. So that's kind of what it takes with your owned media and driving traffic to your website. Now, with paid media, there's a bunch of different kinds of paid media that you can use. You can pay influencers. You can have pay-per-click ads, display ads, retargeting ads, social media ads. You can have affiliates that are pushing your products. You can have radio and TV ads. These are all forms of paid media. You're paying someone to display your information and get you up in the search engines or get traffic to your website in general. Now, people might think, well, can I just spend $5 a day on ads? And here's the thing, the average cost per click on Facebook is $1.72. You've got 5 million businesses out there that are actively advertising on Facebook. So how far do you think $5 a day is going to get you? Not very far. The problem is that it's not just you and your direct competitors bidding on that target audience. It's everybody who wants to sell to, say, females that are 25 to 34 years old, living in New York, and are interested in fitness. That's a lot of companies and all kinds of products that are bidding on that. So the myth of being able to spend $5 a day on ads just simply isn't true. You're going to have to spend a whole lot more than that if you're going to get into the paid advertising game. At the same time, you've got advertising costs that are going up while the reach is going down. And targeting people is no longer as effective as it was even just a couple of years ago. So what people are doing are going to artificial intelligence-based contextual ads, which means that rather than targeting a specific person, you're targeting the context of things around you. So, for example, on this website here about Rocky Mountain National Park, you can see that we have a contextual ad in here from one of my clients that's in Estes Park, right next to Rocky Mountain National Park, where their ad is appearing inside of the article about Rocky Mountain. The other thing that you can do and probably should do is use influencers to promote your products. Influencer marketing has been a fantastic way to move more product, but at the same time, sometimes influencers are making a lot of money, and I'm going to actually share a story about that with you here when I wrap up my section. Finally, the third area that you need to take a look at is your earned media. And this could include mentions, it could include shares, reposts, reviews, and media coverage. One of the things that falls into the earned media category is user-generated content. You get others to talk about your marketing. And I want to show you an example here. This is a video that was sent to me, so it's a personalized video, but it's definitely user-generated content, obviously, that I can repurpose. If it's going to play. There we go. And the volume's not coming through. So I'll just tell you, this gal's name is Chris, and she sent me this personalized video talking about how she was listening to my podcast and got all enthralled with it. She listened to like 4 or 5 episodes all in a row and said that she just had to reach out to me because she so loved the content. That is, and she gave a 5-star review. So that is the kind of content that is generated by a user that can definitely be repurposed and used for your marketing. GoPro is a great example of how to use user-generated content. Now, the story behind GoPro is that the person that started that, he was basically, I think he was in Australia or something, and he had just had some big entrepreneurial failure, and somebody was talking to him about a camera that you could use for action sports and stuff. So he developed this and got the users talking about the experiences that they had or could have while shooting video with a GoPro. Now, if he had just had been venture backed and had run traditional ads, those ads probably would have been super boring. Saying, well, here's this little camera and it's got 12 megapixels and it'll do this and that. Instead, the users were generating the content about all these great experiences they had while using a GoPro. And as a result of that, the company now is worth like $2.5 billion. Okay, running effective marketing campaigns. I'm going to go quickly here so that I don't run out of my time, but this is a campaign that Elon Musk ran with Tesla trucks against a Ford pickup, and they were pulling against each other. Created a lot of buzz, right, because of the kind of competition. Elon Musk does a fantastic job of actually making super effective marketing campaigns by kind of doing things that are out there, in this case, way out there, launching a Tesla into outer space. He's got these great marketing stunts. Of course, Jeff Bezos has a few great marketing stunts himself, such as sending William Shatner up into space. And his drone delivery announcement never happened in the US. They have done some drone delivery in different parts, but he announced that they were going to deliver packages by drone. Great marketing stunt. And I actually followed up on this with a friend of mine, and we went out there and we shot this video where we said, new delivery by drone. And you could get a copy of my book, Amazon's Dirty Little Secrets, by doing this. We had the drone fly the book into his house. And the result of that was the book, Amazon's Dirty Little Secrets, went to #1 on Amazon. That's the kind of thing that you can do. You can utilize things that are happening currently in the world and turn them into a marketing stunt. Here's a great example of Burger King doing that, using the poop emoji and putting poop emoji ice cream on the menu. Now, the third thing I want to talk about here real quickly is converting your visitors into customers. So we've got people that we are marketing to, we get them to the store. Now, how do we get them to become customers? And there's a number of different ways that you can do this. You can just take a screen capture of this if you want to, whatever's going to work for you. But you want to have this engaging customer experience. You want to have product demos. You want to get people to spend more time on your site, and so forth. So getting people to spend more time on your site is one critical factor. And one thing that you can do is you can create what's called an exit intent pop-up. I personally am not a big fan of pop-ups, with the exception of exit intent, and that's where they're about to leave your website and you say, wait a minute, I've got something to offer you. Check this out. Chatbots are a good way to get people to spend more time on your site and to actually get their questions answered. If the website for the Rocket Guatapé had a chatbot, that would have definitely been helpful. So chatbots are a great way to get them to stay. Shopping cart abandonment. You can see almost 70% of shopping carts are abandoned. Having some type of a follow-up sequence can get people to return to your site and spend more time on the site. It turns out that most shopping carts, that the reason why people abandon the shopping carts is shipping costs. And the best thing to do about that, obviously, is just to build your shipping cost into the cost of the product and tell people that you have free shipping. Loyalty programs and gamifying your site are great ways of keeping people on your site and spending more money with you. One thing that people actually really like is they like gift certificates more than they do coupons. Can serve the exact same effect. But instead of telling people that you are sending them this $25 coupon, send them a $25 gift certificate and see what they think and can do with that. As someone that does e-commerce, you might think this is a little weird, but with me telling you this, but you try using a sales funnel instead of just a shopping cart. A sales funnel is where you're have a single product on a page, nothing else on there, no navigation of any kind. It's just, here's the product. If you'd like to buy it, click here. And then from there, you can have an upsell and downsell options. But that's one way of maybe getting people to actually convert into customers. Now, I've thrown a bunch of stuff at you here today, and I know that in general that people are going to have all kinds of information overload when you attend these types of sessions. So I want to tell you a little bit here just for a few minutes about what I call my 4 Ps coaching program. And no, the 4 Ps don't stand for please, 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 please. They stand for the platform, the product, page views or traffic, and purchases or sales conversions. And by doing this, you can see the results that I have had by helping some people. This one started back in April, and they're now doing about $50,000 a month with their online store. This one's been in business a little bit longer, but you can see that they're did 147,000 here. Some testimonials about what people are saying that have worked with me. I don't need to read these for you. You're capable of reading them yourself, but you can see there are some great testimonials, rating me a 15 on a scale of 10. So great testimonials. Now, the question that you're going to be asking here is, well, how much actually should all of this be costing me? How much should a website cost me? How much should my marketing be costing me? And you can see here that I've gone through and collected some of this information. A website costing, $12,000 to $150,000. Marketing costing $2,500 to $12,000 a month. social media marketing, another $1,000 to $20,000 a month, SEO prices. You put all this together, and to run an online business, you're looking at like $7,000 a month on the low end, to basically as much as you want to spend, as much as over $500,000 a year to really run an effective online business. If you were to just go out and hire a webmaster, they're going to start at like $57,000 a year for an entry-level person that doesn't really know anything. A digital marketer, maybe $71,000 a year. I'm going to teach you how to save all that money. You don't need to spend that much money. But I want to tell you this story. I told you I was going to tell you a little bit here about using influencers. This is my neighbor, or she was my neighbor. Her name's Brooke. And she used to babysit my cat when I would be gone on trips like I am now. And it's probably been a year ago now, but I called her up and I was like, Brooke, can you come over and watch Roxy for me? And she said, well, I'll come over, but I want to talk to you. And she got there and I was like, so what's up? And she's like, well, this is going to be the last time that I can watch cat for you. I'll do it this time, but this is the last time. And I was like, okay, what's going on? She's like, well, I'm now a TikTok influencer. And I kind of laughed and I was like, well, that's great. How many followers do you have? 12 million. I about fell on the floor. She had 12 million TikTok followers and she's like 18 years old. Well, fast forward, she now has 20 million TikTok followers. She paid cash for a house. What I should have been doing, instead of saying that's nice and so forth, is I should have said, Brooke, forget about watching the cat. I want you to coach me and teach me everything you know so that I could get even 1 million TikTok followers. So I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want you to pass by this opportunity that I'm going to give to you today. So free to the first 5 people that sign up, I have a gift card. And you can see this is actually a real gift card here. And this gift card is worth $250. Absolutely free to the first 5 people that sign up. You can do this by simply going to webstoresltd.com/strategy. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you a $250 strategy session with me. Now, today, I'm actually going to double that value. You can use, when you go there to that webstoresltd.com/strategy, you can use the VIP code ANGEL, and this is going to become a $500 value for you because I'm going to give you, in addition to the free strategy session, I'm going to give you $250 that you can use with me on any of the services that we offer. So with that, I ran a little long, but I'm going to let Angel run as long as she wants to. I'm going to turn this over to Angel and take it away, my friend.
Well, Greg, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was so valuable. I took tons and tons of notes. You are an absolute expert in the e-commerce space and have been ever since I knew you. Yeah, 12 million followers, right? Your cat sitter had 12 million followers and now up to 20 million and able to pay cash. Right now, jumping into the e-commerce trends, the way the pandemic set e-commerce up for online success, we almost couldn't have asked for, I mean, we could have asked for something better where people didn't have to get sick and die and all the terrible things that happened. But honestly, the pandemic really set the online business up for success because people are used to now doing so much from home, having things delivered. QR codes, right? QR codes were like on the like archaic, like hardly anybody was using QR codes. And now, right, all the restaurants, and all the mobile apps and everything, like QR codes are back on the mend and on the upswing. I also have, like, for all of my I have a subscription service for press releases, and all of my members, they get the card with the QR code. It's pretty amazing. Well, I'm going to talk a lot about the earned media element that Greg was talking about today. I love that you were chatting about Disney and Rise of the Resistance. My daughter opened up the Rise of the Resistance and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge world here in Disney World, here in Orlando, Florida. What was that, 4 years ago when it opened up, 3 years ago, something like that? Actually, I think it was 2 years ago, because then the pandemic came and they shut down right before they opened, or right after they opened. So it is an immersive experience for sure. And the reason that we moved from Denver to Orlando is because all three of my kids work at Disney World. So they're not kids. My youngest is about to turn 25, right? We're having his first quarter birthday party or birthday celebration in a couple of weeks. And my twin daughters will be 30 this next year. So they're like, Mom, stop calling us kids, right? But
They're still kids.
They are, like, they'll always be, right? They'll always be my kids. And so the beauty, right? The beauty of earned media is that you get to boost your media exposure. You get to boost your visibility. A lot of those issues that Greg was talking about is the challenges that small business owners have, like when it comes to getting enough information, right, to your buyers in order to make that decision to make a purchase. When they discover you in a media interview, speaking on somebody else's stage, read about you in a magazine article, hear your story in a podcast, they're getting that kind of information, enough information to take the next step with you. And so the value of being a guest on what I call OPA, in front of OPA, other people's audiences, right? Radio, television, magazines, and then we added podcasts, virtual summits, and live stages, is that you get this transfer of trust. People trust that outlet. They trust that host, right? They trust where, the platform that they're discovering you in. And you as an invited guest, sharing your story, sharing all of your nuggets, right? I say it's selling your knowledge, not your time, right? They get to discover you and end up in what I call your sales castle. Right? So it's a really great system, right? So if you talk about boosting your immune system, we're going to boost your media system. Right? It's a really great system for creating consistent exposure, doing it from wherever you are, and taking advantage of the online trends that e-commerce is really set up for, setting you up for success. And honestly, most of these interviews that you do from wherever you are, right? Most of the time, wherever you have a cell phone connection or an internet connection, you don't even have to leave home. When I speak on stages, I'll often put my sleep mask on, right? As an example, like you don't even have to get out of bed. You don't have to put, you can do it in your jammy bottoms, right? Put a nice top on, get yourself camera ready from the waist up, and you can impact thousands. You can impact thousands on a weekly basis. I mean, how many want to impact more, right? Want to get their message out in front. Just wish more people have heard of you. Have 12 million people following you, or 12 million people hearing your story. And that's the value of an interview. That's the value of other people's audiences, of radio, television, magazines, podcasts, summits. It's that one interview, right, could put you in front of hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions. And I truly believe, like, your story deserves to be heard. Your story deserves to be out there, especially as small business owners, right? We're the backbone of the American economy, right? We're the ones out here supporting our local businesses, local charities, right? Paying for dance lessons, eating out at the local restaurants. Like, we're the ones giving back to the community. And yet the struggle for most entrepreneurs and small businesses, and there's a terrible epidemic of busy but broke. Right? Super busy doing all the things, going out and sharing all of your knowledge and all of your content and pouring into your clients, but not really getting enough exposure in order to really truly monetize that and get the lift that we need to create a scalable business. And so I'm going to, boost your media system. Like, I'm going to give you some things that we can do today to change that, to improve that. But before we do, I have to turn my fan on because I've been sitting now under my lights, and I'm of that age where, Angel gets a little warm. And so hopefully my fan will stop rattling in a second. Is that too noisy, Greg? Is that okay?
I can't even hear it.
Oh, good. Oh, good. All right. Yeah. I hate it when I have a hot flash in the middle of a presentation, but unfortunately it is happening more often these days. This is what you get when you ask an old lady like to speak with you. Okay. All right. So small businesses, earned media, where do we get it? How do we get it? And then how do we monetize that? And how do we really leverage that to drive traffic back to these beautiful websites, right? That Greg is helping you create. Get back to those chat boxes and create that customer experience. We have to attract people to our site in the first place. And for many business owners, we spend a lot of time doing engaging activities. And what I mean by that is we're hanging out and talking to people that have already heard of us. So we spend a lot of time, right, sending emails to people who are already on our list, right? And we're posting out on social media to people who are already following us. And those are engaging activities, and they're necessary, right? That's how we turn these prospects, people who are just following you, into potential customers, right? And beautiful clients and high value clients. And exposure is getting your message out in front of new people. They discover you, never heard of you before, or maybe only heard of you a couple of times. This is a brand new audience, and the power of 2 interviews a week in front of somebody else's audience and 1 press release a month. So it's a really, really sticky formula, right? 2 + 1, 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month. 2 interviews a week puts you in front of 100 new audiences, right? What would that do for your business if 100 new audiences, fresh new audiences, were hearing your story, connecting with you? And it's a super deep way to connect with your ideal target audience, because they're hearing your story, they hear your voice, they're discovering kind of your really juicy goodness, right? Your superpower, what makes you special, like that special thing that you do. Like, just so we listened to Greg and heard all of what he has. I mean, you can just tell the man is brilliant. He has wisdom and experience, right? Like, he'll forget more than we'll ever learn, right? He's been in this space, and you know that now, because this wasn't just a drive-by. This wasn't, just a post you saw about him. You've spent time listening to him, and he added value. And because he added value and then gave you a really easy way to follow up and connect with him, it's like a sample to get into his sales castle. So now we can follow that through. And now 2 interviews a week, it's the same process. They're discovering you, they're hearing your voice, they're discovering, something valuable that they can take action on and get a result in from today. You have a great call to action that gets them into your sales castle, and now you can engage with them on the other side. And so there's 3 pieces really to create that exposure every single week, getting you to 2 interviews a week and 1 press release a month. And the first piece is to really hone in on your expertise. We want to create a pitch story, right? Something that we can pitch to journalists, podcasters, magazine editors, right? We want to create a pitch story that hones in on our expertise. And I call this your magnet, right? So think about a magnet. Magnets attract, right? You put a magnet up to a refrigerator, right? And it attracts. So what's your magnet? When people hear this topic, hear this phrase, they think of you. Or when they think of you, they think of this topic. Like, this is the magnet. It brings people together. And so when we think of e-commerce, right, we've got Greg, right? Greg Jamison, e-commerce. We know, like, that's a beautiful magnet. If anybody's trying to sell online, they're trying to get their websites up and going, right? How do I get my website to convert? How do I get my website to rank? Online commerce, like all of that. That's Greg. When you think of media, right? You think Angel Tussey, right? If Angel Tussey, she's the media matchmaker. She's going to help me find more opportunities to get my message out. She's going to connect me with podcasters and radio shows and journalists, right? So that's my magnet. Once you have your magnet, kind of, this is the one thing that people want to pick your brain about. It's what they come to you all day. And in many cases, we tend to give this away for free, right? All day long, we're having discovery calls and coaching calls, and we're meeting people for online copies or in-person copies. And we give this away for free, many cases. And then at the end of the day, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur especially, we feel like we've just poured into everybody who we talk to, but didn't necessarily monetize it. And then we start to feel taken advantage of. We start to feel like this whole thing's not working. We feel like it's a waste of time, like all the chatter, right, in our heads. And yet what you do is brilliant, right? People want to know it. And so rather than doing these one-on-one calls and one-on-one discoveries and spending our prime business building hours speaking to one person at a time, I want you to write down, if you're taking notes, no more onesies, right? Onesies are for baby businesses, right? We want to do one-to-many, right? One-on-ones are great for building relationships, but we are building businesses, right? And we can't build a scalable business one person at a time. We can't meet with enough people. We can't send enough text messages, right? One-on-one and like to do this all one-on-one. So I just want you to just reframe and rethink, just to give it a test run for 90 days. Instead of doing one-on-ones, creating a one-to-many model. And what that looks like in media is being interviewed one-to-many, right? On somebody's podcast, on a radio show, right? Speaking to a group that's not your audience, doing some stage swapping, getting in front of a fresh new audience, bringing, instead of doing one call and saying, hey, I was going to meet with Greg, right? Now Angel's there, like bring them together all on one call and, kind of stack up your meetings so that everybody's getting that beautiful message from you. But instead of having 5 calls, 10 calls, on 40 calls, we have one call with 40 people. So that's my one-to-many, just to reframe, like everything that you're doing is now in this, I'm going to scale up my business and get in front of a fresh new audience, 2 fresh new audiences every single week. Now, where we want to leverage media for that is you're probably super familiar with a Google search, right? Searching something on Google. Can I share my screen, do you think, Greg?
You should be able to.
Can I do that? Okay, I'm just going to do just a quick little example. And I'm going to use you as my guinea pig. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so can you see I'm just typing in e-commerce in the Google search? Can you see that?
I do.
Okay, so when I type in e-commerce, right, Google's going to do the amazing thing that Google does, right? It's going to find everything that's been search engine optimized for this key phrase, right? They've gone through and worked with Greg, and right, we optimize like swing line staplers, right? This whole thing, right? Everything, any blog, any website, anybody selling it, any article, it's all going to come up. And look at all those zeros, right? Of results that Google was able to find for us. What we want to find are the media outlets that are covering our topic, so that we can be a guest and be featured on, be interviewed and covered with, and build our relationships with journalists. And so do you see this little sub bar here that says more? It says videos, images, books, news. Do you see this little sub bar right here, right? If I click on news, this is going to give me an instant media database of news outlets that are covering the topic of e-commerce right now, like 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 5 hours ago, 8 hours ago, 5 hours ago. Like this is what's currently happening in the news and in the world of media. So let me tell you why this is so brilliant. Oh, and it was 64,400,000 results. Now, Greg, if we're looking to have 2 interviews a week, 100 media features a year, do you think that out of 64,400,000 results, we might be able to find a couple out of there that we could reach out to and get featured on? The answer is overwhelmingly yes, right? Now we all have, so I want you to make a wish list, right? A wish list of, where do you want to even be? I mean, if you're looking for media, what shows do you want to be on? What magazines do you want to be featured in? What online, what reporters do you want to be interviewed, buy, and we want to make our little wish list. But I imagine that there's probably a ton of media opportunities out there that you've never even heard of before, right? And so here we have The Drum. Have you ever heard of The Drum as a media outlet magazine? You have? Oh, I hadn't heard. So see, he's actually heard of it, right? Probably because this is his expertise, right? But Yahoo Finance, Business Wire, Benzinga, that's probably a press release, right? Digital Commerce 360, Entrepreneur, Freight Waves, Martech series. I'm sure you've heard of those, right? Because he's an expert in that space. But this is an instant media database of media opportunities that are happening right now. And the beauty of media is everything cycles. So they're having this conversation today and they're covering this topic today, means they will do it again, right? Everything cycles. And so we want to start to build up our relationships with journalists who are covering our topic. Right? So that way, when our magnet, when we tell them I'm an e-commerce expert, it sticks, right? They're like, excellent, because that's my beat, right? That's what we're looking for. Pardon me. And so once you have your magnet, right, your expert topic, I want you to just do some homework. This is just homework for right now. This is just giving us some research, some background, like, is there even an opportunity for me to speak on this? Are there even media opportunities for me? And with a quick little Google search, we found out for Greg, the answer is an overwhelming yes. And so from there, we want to put together our pitch story. And your pitch story has 3 parts to it. It's why you, why now, and what's the big idea? Why you, why now, and what's the big idea? Now, this is a bigger conversation, and there's lots of moving parts to that. I teach a media mastery boot camp a few times a year, and we spend a lot of time crafting your pitch story to make sure we get it right. But those are the fundamentals. So the why you is your expertise, your accolades, what you bring to the table. Why now is a sense of urgency that's going on in the world that we can tie back to maybe a trend that's happening, so we can create this sense of urgency of why they should feature you now instead of later. And then the big idea is really what's the bigger picture, because you can't go on somebody else's platform and sell, right? It's not a commercial. You didn't pay for advertising. You didn't pay for the sponsorship of it, but you can sell one thing, right? When you're on somebody else's platform, you can only sell one thing on an unpaid stage in most cases. And that one thing that you can sell is a book. And so the first piece is our pitch story, right? We're going to find our magnet, what we're an expert in. We're going to start to build up our media database and find out if there's even any opportunities for media based on our expertise. And we're going to write our pitch story, right? So that's like the first piece, that's all under this first level. The second piece is to become the expert author on it, right? Publishing the book on it. And Greg is a multi-time published author, best-selling author, right? Really easy to be interviewing our expert on it. In fact, he wrote the book on it, right? So I teach a CPP method, right? Copy, paste, and publish your stuff into what I call your food book. Right? The book that puts food on the table, so that we can open up doors for media and interviews, because being a published author is the ¡1 easiest way to get your foot in the door for media opportunities. And so publishing your food book. And a lot of times people will tell you there's no money in the book, right? It's all just like a big business card to get your foot in the door. And I used to believe that myself. And I taught that, right? Just publish the book. Let's open the doors. Let's get you interviews, and then we'll take it from there. But about 2 years ago, I discovered a brand new process. And probably you're super familiar with this too, Greg, because you're an expert on selling online commerce with Amazon. But here's the thing, when we trigger 25 units, like 25 book sales, it opens up some opportunities for Amazon to start promoting you and pushing your book and sending out emails about your product, right? Other people who bought this. And by doing 2 interviews a week, just imagine if you sold 25 books, right, in an interview, and you did that twice a week, that's 200 copies of a book. It's $5,000 in passive income. Right? These aren't people who get on your calendar. You don't have to serve these clients. We're just selling our books, right? So, imagine, right? You have a microphone in one hand doing your interviews and your book in the other, right? This is a $5,000 passive sales just by doing your 2 interviews. And that doesn't even count the income that comes on the back end. 7 books a day, right? Do you know anybody you can ask, invite, tell, beg, right, to go and buy your book? 7 book sales a day is $5,000 in sales every month. Not too bad for a small business owner to have $5,000 in passive income just by selling your knowledge, not your time, right? So this is a game changer. So publish your food book. And then just for kicks and giggles, 100 sales a day is $1 million a year in book sales. There's a lot of money in selling your book, but most people don't know how to drive traffic and engagement to actually sell their books. 2 interviews a week, 1 press release a month. 2 interviews a week, over 100 stages, selling 25 copies of your book because you are the expert. It's the one thing you can sell from a non-paying stage, right? You haven't paid for that stage, you haven't paid for the advertising. Third piece, right? So we pitched ourselves, we put our pitch story, have our professional magnet, right? Learned how to start to build up our database and find media outlets. We're positioning ourselves as the expert by being the published author in the space, creating some residual revenue, passive income. We're driving traffic to our online sales in order to create an extra $5,000 a month in sales. Third piece is the power of a press release. Press releases are the language of media. So now you have your database, right? You can see online, you can see all these different media opportunities. We can reach out to the journalists and start to build up our wish list of other media outlets. And every one of those journalists, right, we can start to connect with and reach out to them. I'm going to show you how to do that too. But what do we send them? We send them our press release. This is the language of media. This is the news, extra, read all about it, right? Just published a book, just launched a course, right? Aligned with this nonprofit, hosting this e-commerce event. Right? These are all opportunities to create publicity around what we're doing every single day. As small business owners, we are doing stuff all the time, right? Look at your calendar, look at your to-do list, right? You're running circles around everybody. But we don't often take the time to create publicity around what we're doing. So here's how we do that. My birthday falls on the 18th of the month. Greg, what day of the month is your birthday?
24th.
24th. Okay. So the 24th for you becomes PR day. I want you to create a recurring event on your calendar. And I want you to bring your team together on the 24th. Look back 2 weeks, look ahead 2 weeks. What are we most excited about? Look at all the things we've done, right? This is a 4-week time span of all the things that we're doing. We don't want that to be in vain. Right? We often don't take the time to celebrate our success. And Perpetual Momentum says the more often we celebrate our success, the more success we have to celebrate. When we started doing press releases for our clients a few years ago, as soon as we put out a press release, something new would happen. Like this door opened, this award, right? Met this, opened up this, like all of this stuff. Every time we would put out a story, something new to celebrate would come up. I want you to just get in the habit of doing 1 a month, right? Writing a press release and sending it out to your journalists, right? The journalists that you're building relationships with. Just a once a month reminder, right? Here I am, right? We've got all this great stuff. If you're looking for a guest on e-commerce, like here's the expert. In fact, he wrote the book on it and he's going to stay in his lane, right? He's going to stay in his lane and connect with those journalists every single month with his pitch story, right? With his press release, letting them know what he is doing, what is a current event. You can submit your local press releases or your press releases to your local news stations because they are looking for stories. They're looking for human interest stories. They are looking for people to feature because they have their standard news headlines they have to cover. They're also looking for filler, right? They need another something in there just to lighten it up. And that story could be you. And good stories get good airtime, right? So if you want more airtime, we've got to come up with a good story. So going back to that media story, right? Your media story, your pitch story in the beginning, right? And if we say that the book is the hook, right? The class is the cash, right? Having something that you can automate and sell digitally online, like an online course, an online e-series. The knowledge economy is alive and well. They say that the e-learning space is going to grow to almost 400 billion in the next 4 years. And it's a really great way for you to monetize your exposure. So creating the interviews 2 a week, you now have your journalist database, you have your pitch story, you're the expert in the space. In fact, you wrote the book on it, and we're sending out a press release every single month, 2 interviews a week. We're selling 25 copies of our book each time. We're creating $5,000 in some passive income. And we are the expert because we are being seen everywhere. Media attracts media and stages attract stages. And the book is the hook and the cash is the class, the class is the cash. And there are hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of media opportunities that are happening every single day. And they are looking for qualified guests. They're looking for experts that can come and do a quote, add content, add flavor. We have built in some incredible resources for our clients just wanting to sample us and get to know us. We have a great Facebook group if you're looking to connect with podcasters and journalists who are looking for guests. We have a complimentary media starter kit. You can grab a copy of Get Discovered. We have all the resources for you to just take that next step. And that's what I want to encourage you is just take the next step. Create that great big giant goal you want, but what's the baby step that you need to take just to get you to that next place? And that's the resource that we want to provide for you today. Greg put this event together so that you just know there's answers, there's support, there's resources. But I will tell you, there is no shortage of people who want to do business with you. None. But what we need to do is create the momentum. And the only way and the best way, not the only way, the best way to do that is leveraging the power of other people's audiences, radio, television, magazines, podcasts, stages, and summits. And it's all just waiting for you to show up. So what's your story? What's your magnet, right? Have you created your database, right? Every single day, right? You can look and see all these different media opportunities. And when you're ready to take the next step, we have the next resource for you as well. So I know we've got to sign up for Greg, right? The QR code to sign up. And when they sign up, Greg, what are they signing up for?
They're going to get a 30-minute strategy session with me about their business. It's not a sales pitch. We actually look at your current website. We look at where you want to go with it and make some recommendations that you can implement yourself. So it's actually a working meeting where you're going to get some real value out of it.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I can give away, right? I can put my.
And you get a book.
And you get a book, right? You're right. I'm going to give away a copy of Greg's book to anybody who signs up for a call with me. You're also going to get access into our complimentary starter kit. You'll get access into our Facebook group. Lots of great resources for you to plug in. Can I just put my calendar link in the chat?
Sure.
Is that the best thing?
Yep.
Let me see if I can do that for you guys. And I know I went through this a little quick. Apparently I'm super excited. So here's my calendar link in the chat. And if somebody signs up for that call, you're going to get a copy of Greg's book. You're also going to get access into our Facebook group, which is our Media Matchmaker site, and our complimentary media starter kit. That includes 52 press release ideas, your media sheet, right, to put your media pitch together, and a full year of headlines that you can use to reach out to journalists. Just all included. So we just want to give you the resources to go out there and get started. If you decide, right, I actually really want to work on this, this is my year that I'm going to make this happen. I do have a media mastery boot camp that we put together 3 times a year. We actually happen to be coming to Denver in November. And then we also host one in Dallas and we host one in Orlando. And if you want to talk about that, that's an option. But for now, let's just get you started, right? Let's get your story out there and see what kind of media opportunities we can create for you.
Cool. Now everybody can see why I love Angel so much. Value that she brought to us today. I just want to take a couple minutes here and pretend like I am a store owner that's been listening to you and me today here. And I'm kind of not so sure about this. I sell gift items at a local gift store. Why does the media want to talk to me? I'm just selling these funky glasses that you have behind you there, or a picture frame, or some of this, the little crystal ball you have behind you there. I just sell that kind of stuff in my store, and I'm trying to sell some of this stuff online. Why does media care?
Well, they might not, right? Just for that, right? The fact that you're just selling glasses, like we really don't care. But there's more to it than you just selling glasses, right? The impact that you are making in your family and in the community, right? Having your storefront, there could be a bigger story there, I imagine. The vendors that you're using, is it all, do you have something special about the way that you find vendors, the way that you serve your clients? Is your customer experience top-notch and worthy, right? Remarkable, that people want to talk about? Is it the way that you handle your employees? Do you have a really special way for hiring? There's more to your story. There's always more to the story than, hey, I just sell this item, right? And I make a few bucks and I go home. I don't believe that. Right? I believe that at the heart of what you're doing, there's a bigger story and a bigger mission as to why you're doing what you're doing. So it does sometimes.
And I think there absolutely is, but you're telling me now that so I've got this bigger story. The reason why I'm selling this stuff is because I think that everybody should have a crystal ball, because it's going to make an impact on your life, whatever the thing is that I'm selling.
Right.
But the fact is that I don't want to write a book about that. You're telling me I need to have a book in order to get out there and get this media exposure. Is there anything else I can do besides write a book? Or how do I write a book about that?
Right. Of course there is. But in a 30-minute presentation, like, that's the number one way to create media exposure, right? If you are an author, it is the number one way. If you are, but I will tell you, Greg, I have somebody who wrote a book. They do the like these cherry lifts. They look like a scissor thing, and you get in the bucket and you can get up high, right? To reach stuff like construction stuff, right? They wrote a book about lifting higher, and about all the stories about some of the different things that they've done with their scissor lifts or cherry lifts or whatever they are. And they actually wrote a book about it, right? I have another company who wrote a book about their excavator things, right? Like, people are telling their story, and if you don't tell your story, who will, right? You don't have to have a book. It's just easy, right? You want the easy button. I'm giving you the easy button. It's probably not that interesting to say, like, talk about these glasses, but this is where a conversation we could go a little deeper. But press releases, right? Doing PR stunts, doing publicity events, right? At your store, hosting a grand opening, right? Hosting a community event, sponsoring a local charity event, right? These are all things that as small business owners, you do every day, and you're not getting publicity around it. So write the press release about it.
And the fact is, was asking those questions because I know those are the kinds of things that people ask you and me all the time. But the fact of the matter is that if you have a book, the reality is that not only is it going to give you the opportunity to get more media exposure, you're going to get more clients as a result of it, just plain and simple. When somebody, you're talking about hiring somebody in a cherry picker and going up there to fix the telephone wires or whatever they're using the thing for, cut down tree branches. If you wrote a book about that, I guarantee you that when somebody is going to look for someone to hire a cherry picker, that you wrote the book on the subject and you're going to get more clients as a result of it.
Absolutely. And, and we think about what's the best promotional item, like what, we're spending money on swag, right? Should I do postcards? Should I do stress balls? Right? How do I keep my brand in front of people? Well, your book becomes an incredibly valuable promotional item. And yet it tells the story. I call it a 100-page love letter to your clients. Like, don't you wish you could tell them more of your backstory? Don't you wish you could inspire them? And with some of the things that you're doing, don't you wish there was more that they knew about you other than this one thing of you standing behind the cash register? Put it in the book, right? Write the story on it. And we get all in our heads, even with press releases. Who wants that? Does anybody even care, right? I'm like, it's not up to you to decide. If they don't read it, they don't read it. But you're putting it out there that they don't want to, and that's just not true.
Yeah, if you really are not an author, you don't want to write a book, then what I would recommend is that you write a chapter in a book and you get yourself into somebody else's book. I know of some store owners that I've worked with that have physical stores. They don't have a book, but they do have a chapter in a book, and they keep that book right there by their cash register. And I can guarantee you again that it gets them more customers as a result of the fact that they're like, hey, by the way, have a copy of this book and check it out, chapter 4. I wrote it.
Right. And
they'll take it. They'll take it and they'll go tell everybody else about your store, your restaurant, or whatever else it is that you have.
They understand author, right? Like it puts you in a whole new class of entrepreneurs and professionals, right? Being an author. In fact, there was a statistic that I looked up. So this was last year, so it's a year old now. But last year, if you were to ask, 84% of Americans wish they could write a book, want to write a book. They got a story inside of them and wish that they had a book. And yet only 1% have. And so when I talk about this food book, right, there's a specific style to it that is attracting your customers back to you. But if you are an author and they're like, can I take my picture with you? Right? They'll tell other people to buy it. They'll share it with others. It totally elevates and separates you and puts you in a whole new class of professionals. And you do have a story. And so there's 3 kind of books that I think of, right? One is your heart book, right? Your book of passion, love songs, poetry, right? Your breakthrough story. Being a chapter, a spotlight book where you're spotlighting yourself along with other people that are in that book with you. And then your food book, right? This is yours. It puts you in front of the right media opportunities and matches you up in front of the right clientele. So when they read that book, they're just more connected to you and your story. And so I want you to do all of them, right? If you've got a heart book inside of you, publish that book. And if you've got opportunities to be in somebody else's book with a chapter, all day, every day, right? My client, Wendy, she did 8 books last year. The woman went from not being an author at all to publishing 2 of her own and being featured doing a chapter in 6 others. So now she's in 8 times, right? She's in 8 different books. That's a game changer. And all she had to do was write a chapter for each of these others.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I tell people all the time is when we were back talking about owned content, is that even with an e-commerce website, maybe very important as part of an e-commerce website, is you need to actually be writing this content. You need to have a blog where on a consistent basis, whether you're doing it a couple times a week, once a week, even just once a month, you need to be putting information out there about your products and services. You need to be writing this down. Well, the fact is if you do that, writing a book is actually really easy. By the end of the year, you've written a book, even if you don't realize it.
Absolutely. It's, we talk ourselves out of success all the time. Like I would never. I'm like, well, then you do you, right? I'm just telling you, there's an opportunity, right? And it's not as hard as you think when you put yourself in the right circumstances and around the right people and learn the systems, right? Success is not a secret, it's a system. The same thing with growing your online presence and optimizing your website. Like you don't have to, right? I could never, I don't, like, you don't have to. What we're telling you is this is our experience. This is what we do. This is how we help. We've seen it work. We've seen it work time and time again. It's pretty awesome when you do it. Do you have to do everything all at once? No, right? But baby step. What's that next step? And if more exposure, right? If more visibility and more traffic back to your site is something you're looking for, leverage the power of other people's audiences to do it. When I started out on broadcasting, we were guests on other people's radio shows to attract more people back to our own show. So even if you have your own stuff, go out and share your wisdom with the world. The world deserves to hear your story. And if you're talking yourself out of it, stop it, right? Come and play. It's really fun over here. We have cookies and we're pretty nice to hang out with.
Yeah, it was actually really interesting. Before we got on our webinar here today, I was in a mastermind where we were talking specifically about utilizing other people's audiences. And that really is the way that you're going to grow online. And it makes no difference if you're selling a service, if you're selling products. The way to grow online is through other people's audiences. So
yeah.
Been great info here. You have any final thoughts that you want to leave people with here?
Oh, don't be afraid of it, right? I think, we're always thinking we're not ready. I have to have the website perfect. I have to have everything built up. I have to be able to handle the volume if I'm going to be, interviewed on TV or a podcast. But here's the thing, you need to build a list, right? You need to build a following. You need an audience. So when you are ready, who are you going to sell to? The movie theaters, they don't wait until that movie is in the theater before they start promoting it. They are shouting it out. They've got posters, they're doing previews, they're doing promos, sometimes up to a year before that movie comes out. So follow the formula that works for success. Even if you don't have everything built up and already yet, at least use the media in order to build your following. And then when you're ready, you'll have people to sell to.
Awesome.
Thanks, Greg. This was fun.
Yeah, it was. So I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording here.